How's it going, everybody? So I'd like to welcome everybody out. Another exciting Wednesday evening. You got any of my regulars in here tonight, or if you're new, maybe you could tell me where you're from. All right, well, as you can see in the title, we're going to be looking at some Kiss riffs, and all these are old, like full original lineup, all in the 70s. Kiss was like a huge influence on me, basically the reason I started playing guitar in the first place. So my entire life I've always heard, oh, Kiss is just all about their image and it's not the music and stuff like that. And yeah, their image is, larger than life. But, oh, hello, Rick, welcome. They do have some like really cool riffs. Like I said, it was the whole reason why I started playing guitar in the first place, was because I got into Kiss's music when I was I'm Brad. Well, hello, Brad. Welcome. Kills J Beats. Kiss has some great music, especially rock and roll over. Yeah, that is actually my favorite album of that era. I kind of divide Kiss up into different categories of timelines. And I'll be honest, I haven't listened to anything that they've done. Like, I've never listened to, I can't even think of the names. I know they had one like Psycho Circus. I haven't ever listened to any of those albums. I really liked the 70s stuff, and I liked a lot of the stuff they did in the 80s, but not as much as those first few albums are great, I think. But anyway, like I was saying, that I always got a lot of shit from people. Oh, they're all all about image and not their music. And they have some really cool riffs, and I think a lot of the stuff's really neat. So what I've done is what I did a couple of weeks ago with the I think it was Leonard Skinner. I've got these riffs, but some of these, I played everything. I don't think there's probably a Kiss riff that I haven't played from way back in the day. But I have a lot of these I haven't played in a long time. So some of them I might be learning them right along with you. Yak fishing. Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you. Honestly, the first thing that attracted me to Kiss was Gene Simmons. Like, I saw him on TV and I was like, oh my gosh, he's like a monster. I thought it was cool. I was 5, but oh, no worries, Jersey. Welcome. But in the last, I don't know, however many years, he's kind of been a little bit of a D-bag. But Ace is what got me started playing guitar too. So, all right. So as usual, there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs for this. So if you want to go ahead and do that, I'll give everybody a minute to get the tabs, and then we can get started. But in the meantime, if you like the stuff I'm doing, I know some of you guys are here every week. Rick, Jersey. Crit doesn't look like she's here yet, but you guys hear all the time and stuff. So if there's anybody new tonight, like Kills. I don't remember you being here before. Oh, there's Crit. Anyway, if you like what I'm doing, show me some love. Hit that thumbs up button. Think about subscribing to the channel. All that good stuff helps that YouTube algorithm thing, but it also helps them to know that I'm doing a good job and I can continue to come and do this for you. Yeah, I agree with you on that too, Yak. I really wish that Kiss would have, they're supposedly, retiring now, but I really wish that they would have done it a long time ago. I keep them in my mind. I keep them on Kiss Live too. That was, that was the album I heard that made me want to play guitar. But all of the, every time I see any kind of an interview or any kind of a documentary, I just find out more horrible things that they all said and did to each other, and it just tarnished my childhood. Yeah. What I was saying about I wish they had retired is I went and saw them. I don't know. It was like 10 or 12 years ago. And Paul Stanley. Now, I mean, he can't help. He can't. You can't help your health, for hell's sakes. But he had this like thing on the side of his neck, and he was struggling to sing, and he was having all that trouble to sing, and yet they still did "I Was Made for Loving You," which is like really, really high. Like the vocals on that are crazy high, and not only did they still keep playing, but they still did that. They still played that song. I was just like, man, it would just really like to have stopped while they were on top. I mean, I guess technically they still are on top. They're making money hand over fist, but I just mean on the top of their game as far as being an actual band. Someone brought the Kiss Live 2 album to my second grade class. It scared me and intrigued me. Did we go to school together, Brad? That's everybody that I'll run into that I went to school with. Like, they'll always say, "Yeah, I remember you. You wore a Kiss shirt in the first grade." All right, so hope everybody's had a chance to get those tabs, and let's take a look at what we're going to be doing. Oh, okay. The first one, Cold Gin. I remember this one. It's funny. This is a song that I attempted to learn by ear when I was a kid, and the way I play it was I had like the first chord right, and the rest of it was totally wrong. I had kind of the right idea. I could hear that the pitch was going down, but not the way that they're actually doing it. Yeah, yak fishing. I'm gonna agree with you there again. That's three times. A live one and live two are great. They're like some of the best live albums of all time, in my opinion. And I really appreciate that. If that's why I'm here for you guys. But this one tonight's a little bit kind of for me because this is my this is what got me started. These are the things that childhood memories of first learning to play guitar back when it was just fun and there was no business side to it at all. All right, so for Cold Gin, we've got we start off, we've just got a regular old A5 chord, but it's typically, we're doing it an octave higher. So my first finger is on the 7th fret of the D string, and my third finger is on the 9th fret of the G string, and the A string is open. Oh, no way. Well, that's cool. Yak fishing, I'm referring to you, like getting to talk to Ace's mom. All right, so for this, we've got this A5, so 7th fret of the D string and the 9th fret of the G string. Now I'm using my pinky because of what comes next. It just makes it easier. Normally I would just play it like this. But what we're going to do for our next chord is it's the name. It's got a scarier name than it actually is. It's G5 over A. All we're going to do is we're going to take the note you're playing with your first finger, and you're going to flatten it. Oh, wait a minute. I skipped a chord. My bad. Okay, so this was the A5. Then we're going to go to a G5 over A. So we're just going to move this shape down a whole step. So what it is that we're still doing this G5 chord here, but we've got this A in the bass. So we've got, and then the reason why I was saying about using your pinky, but you could still do it this way. I've just got small hands, so just easier. We're here, we're on the G5. So we're on the 5th fret of the D string, the 7th fret of the G string, and I'm going to switch to a D over A. So all I'm going to do is flatten the note on the D string 1 fret. So we'll go from the 5th fret to the 4th fret. Like that. So you can do it like this, but for me, it's just much easier to do that. So that first measure, and I'm just going to do it this way. I'm not trying to play it fast, just to have some sort of consistency. So we hit this A5 on the downbeat of 1. It's a quarter note. So this is like 1. And then on the downbeat of 2, we rest. Then on the end of 3, or excuse me, the end of 3, on the end of 2, we hit this G5 over A. But it's another quarter note. So it ends up making the timing kind of weird. I mean, it's easier just to play it and get the groove than it is to try to count it, because we're hitting 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and then on the end of 4, we're back to that. So that's our first measure. Now, that last G5 over A there that we come back to is it's a 8th note, and it's tied to the downbeat of the second measure. So it's an 8th note tied to another 8th note, so it gets a full beat, for those of you that don't understand that. So that means that we're going to be 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Oh my gosh. See, it's hard to count it. It's like, then we're going to go back to here again on the and of 4, back to here on the downbeat of 2, and then back up to the A5 for the and of 2 and beat 3, and then we rest on beat 4. So the first 2 measures is actually the riff, and then the 3rd and 4th measure is the same thing, and then the whole thing just repeats. So it's like. So that's like, the more than what's on there. Once I get playing any of them, or even if I just hear it, I can usually remember how to play them, because I played the crap out of these, a lot of these riffs. These are the first ones that I really wanted to play, but the first ones that I was able to play with more success were Black Sabbath, and then I kind of came back to this. Not that this is more difficult, it was just for whatever reason I related to the way that Tony Iommi played more so than this. It just kind of clicked with me a little bit better. All right. So the next one we're going to look at is She. This is actually the first Kiss riff that I learned. I'm pretty sure it's the first Kiss riff that I learned. So pretty simple. We start off. We've got a G5. So it's just your regular old garden variety G5. So I'm on the third fret of the low E with my first finger, and then the fifth fret of the A and the D string with my third and fifth finger. Now, if you are a beginner, sometimes doing power chords with all three strings, it's hard to do. I remember I struggled with it. So you can just play the lower ones. The note that's on the D string is the same one as the one that's on the low E string, just an octave higher. So if you just, it still sounds good. So we hit that as eighth notes for beat one. And then we rest on beat two. So during that rest, it's going to give you a second to switch to the next chord, which is another G5, but it's an octave higher. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this same shape. We're going to move it up 2 sets of strings. So we're on the D and the G string and then up a whole step. So my first finger is on the 5th fret of the D string. Third finger is on the 7th fret of the G string. And then optionally, 8th fret of the B string. Because again, it's an octave. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then on the end of 4, it's like a rest. But I don't think that it was like an intentional rest, like a lot of times, songs will have. They slide out of it. I just think that's just how it happened to work out. So when you're coming out of that, you hit it, you slide out of it like that. Yeah, the old Panasonic home stereo. God, I wish web cameras were. Well, maybe they do make wireless ones. Mine isn't, because the stereo, my childhood stereo record player, I have just right outside this room. The record player part of it don't work. It works, but it plays the record really slow. I don't know if the motor's gone bad or what, but I mean, I've had the thing for a million years. Tears Are Falling. And welcome, Cap. Yeah, we will not be doing that one today because we're doing the riffs from the 70s. But if there's interest in that, because like I said, I liked them all the way up through Asylum. So Tears Are Falling. See if I can remember it. I can't remember how to play it. I cannot remember. Getaway, great choice. I don't think that that's one that's in here though. I looked through the list the other day and I don't remember seeing the one there, but it's a really good one. Yeah, Cap. Like I said, if what do you guys think? I mean, how many Kiss fans do we have out here? Would you be interested in doing? There's great stuff in their later stuff on Music from the Elder, Unmasked, Creatures of the Night. I think that is like the most underrated Kiss album. The drums on that album just sound amazing. That's a great album. It's kind of weird because like 3 or 4 different guitar players played on it. Ace is on the cover, but I don't think he actually played anything on the album. But look it up again. Another one that would, we could do that on a future uh, live stream. We could do like part 2 and do like the '80s era of Kiss. Jimmy D's, welcome back. Domino. See, that's a great song too. That album, Revenge, I think is the last really great Kiss album. But any of you guys have or listen to Carnival of Souls? It was the last album they did with Bruce Kulick, and it was basically just a bunch of songs that they'd written that I'm assuming that just didn't make it onto other albums because it didn't sound like Kiss. It was really weird. Some of the songs even had kind of like a grunge kind of a thing to it because it was in the early '90s. Or well, it was in the '90s. I don't remember if it was the early. It may have been a little bit later. I think Revenge was in like '94 or something like that. But Revenge is a great album. Bruce Kulick is a killer guitar player. Right there. Jimmy D says Bruce is amazing. Yep, absolutely. Kiss Army since '79. That's cool. All right. So where were we? Oh, She. So you've got 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So when you hit this, you want to try to slide out of it. So again, if you're a beginner, you might have a hard time getting all 3 of those and sliding down with it. So if you can only get, that's totally fine. All right, so that's the first measure. And then starting on the second measure, we've got this little note sequence. It starts off with this chromatic on the A string 3, 4, 5, and then it hits 16th notes, 1, and then on the last 16th note is a rest, and we go to the 3rd fret on the D string, and we hit that with a little bit of vibrato, and that is a dotted 8th note. So for those of you who may not understand what that means, if a note has a dot after it, then you just add 50% of its value. So this is an 8th note, and half of an 8th note is a 16th note. So that note would ring out for an 8th note plus a 16th note. So we hit that, and then back to the 5th fret of the A string, and then it just does it twice. So you got. I can't remember the rest of it after that, but that's the riff from it. That is the first thing that I learned how to play. I remember but I don't remember if I had that part right. I can't remember, a long time ago. Ace Diamond 666. Carnival of Souls is a sequel to Music from the Elder. I have never heard that. I will have to go back and listen to it again and see if I can hear the, well, maybe not hear, but if in the lyrics, something to kind of get some continuity. He may have been saying it that tongue in cheek because I don't think that album sold very well. Music for the Elder is like the worst selling Kiss album, and I think that album's great. It's really weird. It's not like typical Kiss, got all this orchestration and some strange subject matter, but I think it's an awesome one. Detroit Rock City. I don't know if it's on here or not. If it's not on here, though, I can just show you without the tabs. It's actually pretty It's pretty easy. Well, it's easy and well, I'll explain when we get there. But yeah, we can look at that when we get through this if it's not on here. I don't remember seeing it on here. Oh, you still have the original vinyl? That's awesome. I used to have everything up to Asylum on vinyl, 2 copies, one sealed and one opened. Um, and then all my records were thrown away. So now I have a repressing of a live one on vinyl, and then I bought an old original Alive 2 on eBay a few years ago before records went like completely berserk. I guess it was probably about 15 years ago. All right. So the next one we're going to look at is Firehouse. That was actually what I was playing at the very beginning, but not the part that's here. I was doing the. So this, what we're going to do here is the little intro part. So it's like a whole, like a little chordal melody all made up of dyads. So kind of cool. We can squeeze a little bit of kind of, music theory kind of stuff into this. So it's all played on just the D and the G string. So we're going to start off, we're on the 2nd fret of both the D and the G strings. So you just want to use your first finger. And then the next chord, we're just going to take our 3rd finger and put it down onto the 4th fret of the D string. But you want to keep your first finger here because it's also, that's the other note. So we've got 2, 2, 4, 2. And then it's going to be 6, 4. So this shape will move up a whole step and then back down. So that's the first measure. So this is 8th notes, but we rest on the offbeats. So we're just playing on the downbeats. So we've got like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you're like. Okay, and then on the 2nd measure, we're back to the 2 and 2 again, back to 4 and 2, and back to 2 and 2 again. So that's like that's the first 3 beats of the 2nd measure, but that's like the first phrase, the first part of this riff, whatever you want to call it. So yeah. So we hit this on the beginning of the measure. You got 1 and 2 and 3 and then on the downbeat of 4 we rest and you just move up to the 7th fret, bar the 7th fret. So now when we come up here, we I haven't played this guitar in well, I mean, I've picked it up, but I haven't like actually played it in a long time, and it doesn't want to stay in tune, and these strings are super dead sounding. But I forget how much I like this guitar. I don't know why I just try to rotate them, but really nice neck on this. Okay, so when we come up here to the 7th fret, this is on the end of 4. And we've got that, and then we're going to do that same thing. We're going to, like we did here, 2 to 4, but now it's going to be 7 to 9. So I'm barring the 7th fret, the D, and the G string, and then I'm going to use my 3rd finger to get the 9th fret of the D string, and we're still here on the 7th fret. And this is just going to thing, we're going to go back and forth. So, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Now on the, actually that's the and 4, but it's just like a regular old power chord. So 7th fret of the D string and 9th fret of the G string. We hit that on the end of 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and then it starts over again. So it's like. Whoops. All right. So what I was saying about the being little diodes, let's just kind of look at that really quick. So these power chords, like we were doing before, these, G5, whatever, they call it a fifth because you're playing, like in this case, it's G5. So the first note, the lowest note you're playing is the root, so it's the G. And then you're just playing the 5th note of the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's always that shape. Well, if we do it on the same fret, now that interval is a 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we do it on we have a root, and then if we put the next note a half step behind it, that's a major third, and then we flatten that, it's a minor third. So this has got like 4, minor third, minor third, minor third, 4, third, 4, 4, 4th, minor third, 5. So anyway, by doing that in a chord progression, you can get that, like, create a little melody with inside. But I really love that kind of stuff. Like if you're into Dokken, that's like George Lynch's MO. He just, he's like the master of coming up with cool riffs and sequences that use all these diodes. All right, so that is Firehouse. Does anybody have any questions about that one or any of them thus far? I kind of have just been kind of going through them. So far, none of them are like, super difficult. But if you're a beginner, it might be, or maybe you're not a beginner and it's still being difficult or whatever. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, and if you like what I'm doing, show me some love. Hit that thumbs up button. All that YouTube algorithm stuff that everybody talks about. But the big thing is that it helps them to know that I'm still doing a good job and that I like what I'm doing, and that I can continue to do it. So do some Dokken next time. Well, I don't know about next time for sure, but yeah, that would be actually good. There's so many cool George Lynch riffs. Even if you only look at the first. Well, I think the last album that George played on was Back for the Attack, which is just an amazing album. It's the one that's got Mr. Scary on it. But Under Lock and Key has so many cool riffs that, especially that go through this whole thing. What I was talking. There's so many cool things that he did. So yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Do some Dokken. Yeah, I've only learned like 1 or 2 things of George Lynch's, like Lynch Mob stuff. Like I learned the riff for Wicked Sensation a long time ago, but I don't know. I thought that band was good. I never really got into it though. I just about the time that happened, I was kind of shifting gears in music that I was listening to and was kind of out of that kind of stuff. But it's really good. Like I said, I've got mad props for George Lynch. He's a great guitar player. And I'm sure this isn't, y'all probably already know this, but a couple of weeks ago, I was reading something. It was something about when Randy Rhoads, when he was killed, and they were trying to find, a replacement guitar player. That George Lynch was actually one of the candidates. I guess he traveled and did like sound checks and stuff like that, but then they ended up giving the gig to Jakey Lee, which was also an incredible guitar player. All right, so looks like the next one we got is Deuce. Oh man, this riff isn't really hard to play, but I have a hell of a time getting it to sound really good, like really authentically the way they do it. Sharon didn't like that he had a yellow guitar. Seriously? God, I hope that is just not true. Because what a ridiculous reason to. Oh, that's really weird. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so this riff from Deuce. Yeah, this is really, really hard. So I'm going to show you slowly how they're doing it, and then I'm going to show you the way that I've always kind of played it to be able to get through it, like by playing this in a cover band or something like that. Because there's this one part in here that I have a hard time getting it. Really, George Lynch he taught it at Dolores Road Studio. I never heard that before either. Huh. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, what I had heard was when I seen the thing where I said that he'd played with them, then there was like other articles that came up. How there was one that said that it was because he said that Dawkins had gotten a record deal like on a Japanese record label, and that he wanted to take that over playing with Ozzy, which I found really hard to believe, because by the time Randy Rhoads had died, Ozzy was back on top again. Randy asked him to, so they knew each other prior to his passing. I don't know any of this stuff. I mean, I'm a huge Randy Rhoads fan. He's I think it sucks that he died. I mean, it sucks that he died, obviously, but I mean, it's just that everybody gauges everything about him off of 2 records. And I mean, both of those records are amazing. There's no doubt about it. But I just think that if he could have kept going and could have continued to put out, more material and stuff, he would have progressed and, would have even been a bigger monster than he already was. All right, so the first part of this, we're doing a little fourth. Oh yeah, D. Yeah, I used to know how to play that when I took classical lessons when I was, like in 13, 14 years old. But I can't remember. I can't remember how to play it. I used to know how to. I should go back and relearn it. That could be a good lesson to do, actually. Okay, so we start off. We got this 8/5 over E. So it's another one of these fourth ones. So we're barring the third fret of the A and the D string, and I'm just going to use my third finger. And it's eighth notes, so it's like 1 and 2. And then on the end of 2, we're going to come up and you're going to bar your first finger across the 5th fret of the D, G, and B string. Now, if you look on the transcription, it shows 2 5s before that happens, but it's just easier if you put your finger down. So on the end of 2, you're supposed to hit the G string twice at the 5th fret. So like 1 and 2, and then you hit the rest of the strings on the downbeat of 3. Then we go to take our third finger and do the 7th fret of the D and the G string, and then we come back and do 2 5s again, and then the whole thing. So see, it's really hard to get that. Getting those two G strings in there by themselves I have a hard time with it. So what I do is I actually just use the whole chord. So oh my gosh. It's just easier if you still want to try to get that 16th note. So it's got that da-da-da kind of a weird vibe to it. This song is cool. It's got a really cool groove, I think. Oh my gosh. Okay, so when we hit the last chord of that, it's on the end of 4 on that first measure. So we've got and then that's tied to beat 1 of the second measure, and it's a quarter note, so it takes care of all of beat 1. So that's ringing, and then we hit that again. Then we go back to the 7th fret, still on the D and the G string. 7, 5, and then now 7, 7 on the A and D string, and then 5, 5, and then it just repeats. So that's how I would play it to kind of like, sort of fake my way through it. That is, in my opinion, this is one of the more difficult Kiss riffs to be able to get it articulated the way with. So one of the more challenging ones, in my opinion. Wow, I said that I'd probably have to be like kind of learning these too, and I totally suck at playing that one. So yeah, I need lots of practice on that. All right, next one here, track from Rock and Roll Over, we were talking about earlier. This is Making Love. Another good one that has these dyad riffs, with the fourths. Okay, so we're going to start off. You're going to take your third finger. Yeah, get up and get your grandma out of here. Yeah. Sorry, I was just reading the comments on the lyrics. Yeah, so for this one, we're going to start off. You're going to put your third finger. You're going to bar it on the D and the G string, and then we're going to pedal the open low E string. Now, if you put your first finger here onto the 7th fret of the A string, those two notes are the same as these two notes. But here we've got an E and then we've got a B. So E is the lower note, B is the higher note. Here we've got a B and an E is the higher note. So it goes from being a 5th to being a 4th. So it does sound different. This is a thing that I hear people they'll get wrong on, not like this song in particular, but lots of songs where they'll play a 5th where it should be a 4th because they can hear those two notes, but they've just got them, backwards. So this first measure is 8th notes. This is a pretty straightforward kind of a rock thing here. We've got 2 pedals of the A string or the low E string. And then, so this is like 1 and 2. So on the downbeat of 2, that's when we hit the D and the G string here at the 9th fret. But you want to palm mute the low E string, the pedal notes, but when you hit the chords, you don't palm mute that. So you got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's what you could kind of start off with it just to kind of get used to that. So you don't want to hear that ringing. So as soon as I hit it, I just release the pressure. I keep my finger there, but I'm not pressing the strings down all the way. So it causes it to die. Okay, so that's our first measure. Now, the downbeat of 1 of the second measure is this E5 over B again, but this time we're going to pick it and then do a pull off to 7. So this is why we're using our third finger. So you want to take your first finger, then you're going to want to bar on the 5th fret, no, the 7th fret of the D and the G string. So we're going to pick that 9 and 9 and do a pull off. So if you are a beginner, this is going to be really difficult for you more than likely. Because it's one thing if you're just pulling off one string, but when you're trying to do the 2, and it doesn't. I used to think, well, if I use 2 fingers like that, it's easier just to use 1 like that. The only time I would use 2 is if it was something staggered, but where they're on the same fret. So we hit that 1 and then on the downbeat of 2. We're going to pick up the 9th fret of the A and the D string with your third finger. So, and then back to 7, and then back to 9. So that's 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Oh, okay, Brad. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. And yeah, you can always watch the rerun. You might have to anyway, just on some of them if I didn't spend enough time on it. So the first and second measure is half of the riff, and then the third and fourth measure are the other half of the riff, but they're it's similar, but there's a little bit of a difference. So let's just finish working with that first one. So now we're on to the third measure, which is exactly the same as the first one. And then on this fourth measure, what makes it different from the second? We start off the same way with that 9 pull to 7 to 9, back to 7, back to 9 again, back to 7, and then 9 and 9 on the D and G string. So I think that's a really cool riff. And I like it on the studio version of it. The one guitar comes in the then on the second time through, the second guitar player comes in and starts playing those notes that I said that have made it a fifth. So it's like, but he's not playing it. If you're not familiar with the song, you just have to hear it. But got a lot of vibrato on there. It sounds really tough. I think it's a really cool riff. So yeah, so that's Making Love. All right, so it looks like there is one more left. And okay, so it's God of Thunder. I was just looking. This looks like it's the studio version. I'm not really a super big fan of the studio version of this song. I think the riff is cool, but they just did a lot of really weird things in that recording, and it's so slow. But on the version of it on Kiss Alive 2, it's faster, it's heavier, it's like a cooler song. What's really funny is that this is the one that back in the day when they put the effect on Gene Simmons' voice, you get some, he sounds like a monster, a Cookie Monster or something. And then he would do the in the middle of it, they had like a drum solo, and that's where he would do the spit out blood thing. I just completely lost my train of thought of what. Oh, but anyway, the the original version of this song on the demo for it, because Paul Stanley wrote the song and he sang it on the demo. It sounded so weird; his voice just did not fit, and they thought the same thing, and that's why Gene ended up singing it. But that was kind of funny when first time I heard it. Really weird sounding. Okay, so the first part of this is just single notes, and then we're going to do some more of that. The fourth interval power chords. So we're going to start off with just 2 open low E strings, and this is eighth notes. So we got 1 and then on the downbeat of 2, we're going to pick up the 7th fret of the A string, and then the and of 2, the 7th fret of the low E. So that's how I like to do it. Is I use my 3rd finger on the A string, and then I use my 2nd finger. You could do that whole rolling thing like I talked about doing in licks and stuff, but once you're down here on the lower strings, for me, it's a lot harder to do that. It's easier just to use separate fingers. So 1 and 2 and then on the downbeat of 3, we go to the 5th fret on the A string with your 1st finger. Whoops. Then we've got a it's weird is that I always thought there was a hammer on right there. But what we have here, in case any of you have never seen this before or seen it and didn't understand what it was, if you're looking at that tab there there's 5 and then 7, and between the 5 and 7 is a 5, but it's small font. And then if you look up the notation, the notation is smaller and it's got like kind of a slash through it. So what it is it's a note that it's not going to get any, it's not going to be counted into the timing. So when you play it, you don't want, it's going to be like really quick. So that's why I always thought there was like a hammer on there. And maybe there could be. It just doesn't show on this particular transcription. So what I do is, so I hit the 5 and then I hit it again and really quickly. So it just slurs that 5 into 7. Throw a little vibrato on it. And then on the and to 4, we hit the open string again. So. Then on the second measure, we rest on the downbeat of 1 and the and of 1. We hit the open string again. The 7 on the A string, 7 on the low E, back to 5 on the A, and the slur to 7. So it's basically the same thing, but we're gonna, after we hit the 7 this time, instead of going to A, we're gonna go to the 5th fret on the D string with your first finger. So you got it. Try that again. Then that same 5 to slur to 7. 5th fret of the D string. So. Then on the third measure, it's the same as the first one, with the exception of on the and of 4, instead of hitting the open low E string, we're going to bar the 5th fret of the D and the G string. So we're back to doing that same 4th dyad like we did earlier. So. So we hit that on the and of 4, and it's tied to the downbeat of 1 on the 4th measure. So it's going to get the equivalent of a full beat. It's just, it's just going to feel a little strange because it's coming in on the and of 4. So we hit that and 1, and then on the and of 1, with our third finger, we're going to bar the 7th fret of the A and D string. And then, so that's like and 1 and then on the downbeat of 2, back to the 5 and 5 again, 2 and. On the and of 2, third finger is going to come to the 7th fret of the D and the G string. You want to keep your first finger on the 5th though. And then we're going to bend it. So it's kind of, it puts that kind of a weird sound into it, a little bit dissonant, but. So after we bend it, back to 5, and then back to 7, and then the whole thing just repeats. So. So that's how they do it, like on the studio version, but on the live version, it's much faster. It's like. But and they got a ton of gain on it. That's the first time I ever heard that song was the live version of it when I got Kiss Alive 2. I just thought it was awesome. And then when I heard the studio version, I just thought it was really weird. I went with my parents to Kmart, and they had these records in this bin that they had, like, somebody taken a pair of scissors and cut the corner like off of the I guess it'd be the left top corner of the record. They cut it off. Didn't damage the record, but it kind of messed up the jacket. Anyhow, they were really cheap. I got it for, I don't know, like $3 or something. This was probably in like, I don't know, maybe 1980. And anyhow, double platinum was just kind of like the greatest hits. And that was the way that was when I had heard the studio version of that. Thought it was weird. The next album's cool because it's got a a version of Strutter that's called Strutter 78, and they just like re-recorded it. They made a little drum thing, a little drum intro on it a little bit longer. Well, thank you, Wiz. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I wonder sometimes because when I'm sitting here doing, I'll look up and I'll see how many people are watching, and I've watched other live streams and there's like hundreds or thousands of people, but uh, I don't know, try to do the best I can. So yeah, so that is our first installment of some Kiss riffs. I mean, there's so many other ones from back then that I really love. Like, so I could do a whole lesson on songs off of Rock and Roll Over. Whoops. Cool song, Mr. Speed. And you are welcome, Crit. I appreciate it. All right, so yeah, so that I think is going to do it for me tonight. So I really appreciate everybody that came out. If you're just tuning in, there is a link in the description where you can get these tabs, and the lesson will be, there'll be a rerun, so you can, follow along with the tabs or whatever you haven't already gotten them. And if you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button. Think about subscribing to the channel. This isn't my channel. I just do videos for them, and the comments and the thumbs up and all that kind of stuff helps them to know that I'm doing a good job and I can continue to do this for you on a weekly. You're welcome, Rick. Thank you. All right, Crit, have a great one, and I'll see you Tuesday. Thanks, Jersey. Appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, for coming out. I really appreciate it. I appreciate these guys that are here every week, for this. It means a lot to me. And I will... I'll be back again next Wednesday, same time. It's 6 p.m. my time that when I start. So like right now it's 7 p.m., 7:03 p.m. my time, the time zone that I'm in. So yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. Hope everybody has a great week. Try to stay warm and dry. The freaking crazy weather. But yeah, I will see y'all next week. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.